A new Quinnipiac poll showing Americans almost evenly divided over impeachment, with 46% say they are in favor of impeachment and removal of the president, while 48% say he should not be impeached. Bill Weld is the former governor of Massachusetts, and he is challenging President Trump for the GOP nomination. I'll ask you why in a second, but where do you stand on impeachment of the president?
Oh, I think he's in a tough spot on the law, and I worked on both the Nixon and Clinton impeachments and used to be head of the criminal division of the Justice Department, so this is kind of my area. But those folks who wrote the Constitution, two things they worried most about were foreign interference and use of the office for private gain. And those seem to be implicated by the Ukraine caper, so-called.
Well, obviously, Democrats are digging for any evidence of that. They continue with their impeachment proceedings. If they have evidence of that, they have not shown it.
Yeah.
So you favor the impeachment of going for the impeachment of the president? I still don't know your answer.
I think it's there on paper, sure.
Are you calling for the impeachment of the president?
Well,
I think that's a yes or no.
Yeah, no, I think that's a yes. And I think it's time for the House to go ahead with their inquiry. You know, it goes in steps. First there's an inquiry, then they make a decision. Then if the decision is yes, then it goes to the Senate.
And they have not voted on that in the House. So we'll see where all that goes. Why do you want to run against the president?
You know, I'd like to use my skills and my experience to be president of the United States, which I've been thinking about a long time. I almost did this previously. And once you make that decision, it really doesn't matter who else is in the race. What
would you run on?
I would run on being an economic conservative, someone who would do a lot with climate change, who would do a lot with K-12 education, probably reverse a bunch of the president's foreign policy initiatives, relying on tariffs and sanctions as a leading indicator of foreign policy. It wouldn't be my style.
I hear you, and I hear a Republican launching with a climate change. I saw you just gave a speech at Dartmouth the other day, and that's where you kicked things off.
Well, yeah, that's true. I do think climate change is a major, major issue, maybe even my #1 issue. But there's a difference between me and the Democrats. Their proposals are, I'm going to spend $16.3 trillion. That's Sanders. I'm going to spend $1.3 trillion. That's Biden. How much they're going to spend? It's inputs. And my proposal is no. We have to put a price on carbon and then let the market take care of pricing carbon, and that'll result in less carbon in the atmosphere, and that's what we have to do. We don't have to spend 10 or 15 or 20 trillion dollars.
Fascinating to hear that. Meanwhile, as we see Democrats continue to push forward with impeachment of the president, we have another witness behind closed doors up on Capitol Hill today. Republicans are saying there's a lack of transparency in this process. Show us the transcripts. Let us in the room. You just heard from Matt Gaetz, the congressman on the House Judiciary. Let me in on this. But they are stopping a lot of that, and there is an air of secrecy that is happening. I just wonder if you think it behooves your party a year out from the next election to continue to, as far as the Republican Party is concerned, to continue to press for that, to let this happen. What should the strategy be on the part of your party, Governor?
Well, the Republicans are allowed to push back. They don't have to roll over and play dead. So sure, they can. You know, this isn't beanbag. You know, this is playing for all the marbles. So Democrats are going to do what they're going to do. My advice to them would be keep it simple. Don't come in with a kitchen sink and 67 different articles of impeachment, or people get confused. The country is already tired, exhausted. And, you know, I think if things were narrowed and if the House went ahead.
But that seems to be the debate right now, in addition to impeach or not to impeach. But now that the impeachment process is on and you've got Adam Schiff leading this thing, that he's not telling people what's happening behind closed doors. Let the American people come through this process with you. And as a Republican sitting here who just called for the impeachment of the president, where do you stand on that?
Well, you know, I worked on the Nixon impeachment back in the 70s, and the same issues came up. And Albert Jenner was the chief Republican counsel. I was associate Republican minority counsel. And all the fighting was about the right of cross-examination and that sort of thing. So,
well, I haven't, as far as the polling is concerned and where you stand in things, I haven't seen a national poll where you've risen above 3% and running against the president, but I do believe there's a New Hampshire Republican primary poll where you top 13%.
Hey, baby.
What is the conclusion you draw from that?
Well, that's higher than John McCain was at this point when he ran, and he ran as an insurgent in the Republican primary twice. in 2000, 2008, and Senator McCain won both of those races. And the guy who was his chairman is now serving as my chairman. So hope springs eternal.
Bill Weld, the former governor of Massachusetts, appreciate your time this morning. Thank you.